All right, so the tier list is back. Another DMC 1 tier list with your boy, the best Devil May Cry player of all time, at least for the first game. Soon to be the best ever. I played a lot of Devil May Cry 1. Way more hours than anyone should in their goddamn life. All right, I got like 1,500 hours in DMC 1 here. So I'm going to make the definitive tier list for every single weapon in DMC 1. So let's get into it. First up, we got Force Edge. The standard sword that you start with. Basically just the OG bread and butter. You literally only use it for one mission. You use it for mission 1 and then walking in mission 2 to grab Alistair. Doesn't allow you to use Devil Trigger. Kind of a broke bitch sword. There's literally no reason that you'd ever want to use it, ever. In fact, I've only ever used it on mission 1. I don't think I've used it anywhere else. You can equip it and use it for the rest of the game, and it does have the same moveset as every other sword in the game, but it is pretty basic, and the lack of DT is huge. I think D tier, it's not like unusable though. It's good. I see the problem with this tier list is I think that everything is good. I don't think there's any weapons, except for some we'll get to later, that are like really bad, right? But like, this is probably the worst melee weapon, right? So I'm gonna put it in C tier. C standing for could be better, right? See, but like, it's not even fuck the marionettes on mission 1 because the marionettes get blasted by the blicky way better, bro. So like, literally you're better off just using the pistols. C tier it is, all right? I'm planning on doing a DMD with only Force Edge run. And there will be a lot of C's, bro. I'm gonna see myself out the fucking window of my 3rd story apartment, all right? So yeah, C tier, gotcha. All right, next up, Alistair. Banger of an introduction cutscene. Dante, it starts the trope of Dante getting stabbed in the chest, right? It gives you Devil Trigger. It's got Vortex movement, which is sick. Air Raid, Round Trip. It's a banger. Stinger, the classic. It is 100% best melee weapon, right? It's goated. And this has got to be triple S here, surely. It's got a banger of a cutscene. It's a really cool introduction. And it's like the most versatile thing in the whole game. This has got to be S tier, for sure. Alistair is a banger. All right. So y'all say that DMC 2 has strong guns. Y'all say DMC 2 has strong guns. Let me introduce you to my friend, the Blicky. My main man in the speedrun endeavors, the grenade gun. This thing is fucking insane. This is probably the most powerful gun I have ever used in a video game. We're talking like this thing rivals the BFG from Doom. All right, this thing is crazy. It might not instantly evaporate everything in the room like the BFG, but dude, this gun instantly kills marionettes, the main enemy in the game. It sets up for an instant kill for blades. It stuns every enemy in the game. You can super easily cancel every time you shoot it with rolling or jumping or slashing your sword. And on top of that, every time you shoot something with this thing, it gives you like a whole stock and a half of Devil Trigger. It is fucking insane. Like, that is so useful. And you can do stuff like be in Devil Trigger and shoot the grenade gun, then deactivate Devil Trigger and get like 2.5 stocks of DT. If you know how to use the grenade gun, you will literally never run out of Devil Trigger. It also insta-kills scissors and scythes. It's just insane. It is by far the best weapon in the game. It's even better than Alistair. That's got to be triple S tier. I am certain that if you had to beat the game with only one gun, the grenade gun would be like 30 minutes faster than every other gun. Just saying. All right, next up, we got the needle gun. Only available to use while underwater. And there's only 3 underwater sections in the whole game. Now, people shit on these underwater sections, but I'm telling you, they're not that bad. But that is not because the needle gun is good. The needle gun kind of doo-doo. It kind of stinky. A little poo-poo, bro. And here's why. It shoots faster the faster you shoot. That's cool, I guess. You know, Ebony and Ivory works the same way. So why is that such a big problem, wife? Well, you see, that means you're button mashing, which I fucking hate button mashing. But not only that, you're button mashing underwater. So not only do you have like inverted camera and dog shit water controls and you're stuck underwater, but you also are button mashing underwater. And it's not satisfying to use. It's got like super slow travel time on the bullets. Not that enjoyable. I'm gonna have to say D tier. Easily the worst weapon we've graded so far. But don't worry, there's more. Speaking, well, because okay, it's D tier because like, look, you don't even want to be underwater in the first place. You can't even use it above ground, so it's useless outside of the worst parts of the whole game. So you only can use it for approximately like 2 minutes total in your whole playthrough, and it's not that fun to use when you're underwater. So yeah, D tier. Easily. Ebony and Ivory, the bread and butter of Devil May Cry, right? I will say I prefer butter to bread. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a huge fan of Ebony and Ivory in this game because I am jaded, all right? Like, obviously S tier, like they're goated, but let me put into perspective for you like what these things do to me. So Ebony and Ivory have a fixed shooting speed. You can't shoot faster than that, but like it's way faster than you would think it is. So if you want to shoot that shit, you're like fucking mashing your goddamn heart out and your tendons out. And that shit'll never work again, bro. You've had death grip before, bro. Whole nother level, bro. You won't even be able to touch anything down there. These things are unusable, bro. I'm broken. All right. And they have a separate shoot speed cap that's even faster in the air. So with that combined, it kind of sucks. I do like the double trigger bullets. It's cool that they add travel time to it, but it also makes it kind of slightly less useful. Also, we should talk about charge shot. Charge shot is pretty sick. But for Ebony and Ivory, it's literally just the same thing as shooting with DT. I mean, that's how charge shot works with all of them, but you only get like 3 or 4 bullets. So it's not really useful. The only thing it's useful for is like knocking enemies back. It's like super niche. So honestly, like I don't even think that it really matters. I'd say that Ebony and Ivory, they're insane damage output, by the way. You can knock enemies in the air and juggle them. And literally the fastest way to kill marionettes is to shoot with Ebony and Ivory, which is wild. Like, that is faster than using Force Edge to just stand far away and just blast. All right, that's crazy. Now, it doesn't launch enemies by itself like it does in DMC 2, but it's crazy. And same thing, like Griffin, one of the fastest things you could do is just blast them. Basically, any enemy, it's like really solid, just shoot them. It's crazy. But definitely up there as far as Ebony and Ivory goes for the series. It's definitely up there. I gotta say, I'm debating A tier, but I'm gonna put it in S tier for now. You know, it's at the bottom of S tier, but maybe we move it down. We'll see how we feel. All right, Ifrit, the gauntlets and greaves of DMC 1, the thing that started it all. Let me paint a picture for you. All right, you're out here fighting demons for fun, just to see what's going on. And you're punching them to death with your hands, and your hands are on fire. That's fucking sick. Like, that's so rad. And it's the only melee weapon that has a different moveset than the swords. All the other swords, all the other melee weapons have the same moveset, but Ifrit's got a completely unique moveset. And you got charge moves, and the charge moves are mad fun to use. And the abilities that you can buy are arguably even better than the ones you could buy for Alistar. Like, yeah, Stinger is goated. It's the best, right? But have you ever done a kick 13 where you hit that fool like, bah, 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 like, and launch them at the ends? It's fucking sick. Meteor, bro, you send a fireball with your hand and like instant, like literally do half of Griffin's HP. Hello? Or Inferno, where you just jump in the air and just smash the shit out of the ground and insta kill like half of the enemies in the game. Pretty much insta kills Frost. Insta kills every marionette. Like, bro, this weapon is fucking insane. It's so good. And it's really fun to use and stylish. It's easily S tier. Now, the debate is, does it go ahead of Alistar? Now, the only, I think they're really comparable. All right. I like them. They're cool. Especially if you consider like Nightmare Beta stacking damage on the left hand with Ifrit. Like, how cool is that? Kick 13 is a sick move. But you know, so is Vortex and Air Raid and Stinger. And not so much Round Trip, but it's there. The only reason I would think that Ifrit would be higher than Alistar is that all of the swords share the same moveset, right? So like that, I feel like brings down Alistar. You know what I mean? Like Alistar is like not as cool as Ifrit because all the other swords share the same moveset, right? So it's like not as unique and not as interesting. Whereas Ifrit's like it's its wholly own thing. I'm talking myself into it. It's cooler than Alistar. I'm in. I'm all in, bro. All right. Nightmare Beta. You're watching this video. You have no idea what the fuck this is. That's a picture of the boss. I've never seen this weapon before in my life. That's right, you haven't, because you've never done the other half of mission 15 and you've never checked the bed on mission 19. This is Nightmare Beta. And I will not lie to you. I have 1,500 hours in this game. I have used this weapon for approximately 2 minutes. All right. It's not very good, but it's really cool. So the theory is, this is how it's set up. You shoot it, and instead of using nothing, because most guns have limited ammo, you use your Devil Trigger as ammo. And like, that sucks because DT is a very valuable resource. And normally you're using your guns to build DT, not use it. So it's a cool little subversion, but have you considered that its damage is dog shit? Now, I haven't tried it on a lot of enemies, and it doesn't even work on Nightmare. But it's okay for Mundus. Not great. Just okay on normal. Wouldn't use it on DMD. And it's okay on marionettes. Basically, it's like Artemis from DMC 3. You shoot it and it bounces around and hits a bunch of stuff. Honestly, I don't see much of a use case for this weapon. And the fact that it uses your DT, kind of whack. So I think this has got to be in D tier. It's better than the needle gun, but it's more useful than the needle gun. It's cooler. I like its design. It's pretty sick, but like, I like it in concept, but in execution, it's lacking, you know? Especially if you consider the resource management that's going on when you play DMC 1, you're like really trying to make sure you use your DT efficiently. And guns are usually the way that you build DT. So that subversion where you use it as ammo instead is really cool, but it needs to do like 20 times the damage it does. Yeah, exactly, bro. The needle gun's not stealing your DT, right? That's what I'm saying. All right. Next up, we got the GAT. The GAT. The goated Coyote shotgun, bro. This thing slept on. High key slept on. I would argue that behind the grenade gun, it is the best gun in the game. Easily. This thing is crazy, bro. People have been sleeping on the GAT for way too long. Yo, you like jump canceling? The only gun you can actually jump cancel with in DMC 1, the shotgun, bro. That's where that shit started. It sends puppets straight up in the air and you can jump cancel off them and fly into the sky. Fly away. Literally leave the map. It's fucking sick. And does huge damage and crowd control. Builds a ton of Devil Trigger when fighting marionettes at the very least. Is super good with charge shot for like instant killing scythes and scissors. And for counters and stuff like that. And it's super clutch on Mundus. Shotgun on Mundus fucks, bro. It takes out all those little orbs from range really consistently, builds a lot of DT, has great coverage. Easily the second best gun in the game. So it's got to be higher. Definitely S tier, obviously. Got to be higher than Ebony and Ivory, but I'm not sure where to put it. Personally, I'm biased. I feel like it's here. Like, the grenade gun is just too good to put underneath the shotgun, but the shotgun is like way cooler, right? Grenades, explosions, grenade guns, that's cool. You know, I like blowing shit up like the next American, you know, that's where half my tax dollars go. But I'm not doing that myself, and I don't think it's really stylish. But dude, the GAT is really stylish. I think it's less useful than both the main melee weapons. Yeah, but it's like, I'm not looking for a gun to replace my melee weapon. I'm looking for it to supplement it. And it supplements Alistair specifically, like, perfectly. You know? So I think this is where I'm putting it right here. S tier, but not as good as the grenade gun. Definitely more stylish than the grenade gun, but not as useful. You know? All right, up next we got Sparta. And I'll be real, I'll keep it $150 with you. I ain't ever used this thing very often because it's got the same problem that Force Edge does, and that means that you don't get to use DT with it. So you can use like Stinger and Round Trip and all those cool moves, and they're buffed. And basically Sparta does the same damage as Alistair when Alistair is in DT. So it does like 2 times damage, but you don't use your DT, which would be really cool. But it's not that you don't get to use your DT, it's that you can't use it. So like you can't use Vortex, you can't use Air Raid, all these really cool abilities and moves. You can't heal with DT. Like it's literally the same thing as Alistair, except for you can't use DT. It's got some cooler attacks. The animations are sick. Like you do a Stinger and the sword gets like way longer. And you do like some other attacks and it turns into like a boomerang and shit. It looks so cool, and aesthetically way sicker than Alistair. But the fact that you can't use DT and lose access to those moves, like it's not it. You know, it's got to be A tier. It's not as good as Alistair. It's also got a really cool cutscene attached to it and like some narrative and stuff. And personally, it's my favorite sword design in all of Devil May Cry. But it's just like that not being able to use DT is really rough, you know? It's got that Devil Trigger that you use during the Mundus fight, which is really cool. I love that DT design, that bug DT design. That's my favorite DT design in the whole series. And the dragon is really cool. And I like that it gets some of, like if you DT like that, you can use Meteor. You get like an Inferno moveset move and stuff like that. But the fact that you can't use DT outside of that Mundus fight makes it pretty mid, honestly. So it's got to be A tier, 100%. Last off, probably didn't even know this is in the game, but Yamato. Yamato is a weapon that you only get access to if you play on the Legendary Dark Knight costume. And it is essentially exactly the same as Alistair, just has a different model. And I think it's a little bit faster. I could be wrong about that part, but it's pretty much the same weapon. Huge upside though, you start with it on mission 1. So if you're using that costume, then you can play mission 1 with Devil Trigger, even on New Game, and you get that extra damage that Force Edge doesn't have. So for Dante Must Die, this is huge. This makes DMD like so much more fun. If you're playing New Game DMD and like just playing casually, or you know, not trying to speedrun, like this, you're playing with LDK because you don't want to play mission 1 without DT. It's awful. It's awful. It's faster, maybe more damage, but drains DT faster than Alistair. I didn't know that. Is that true? That's really interesting. And also, like, it kind of, since it's required to use the LDK costume, you kind of got to add that drip factor of the LDK costume to Yamato. And it's pretty sick. It's a cool costume. It has a shadow that has like the DT, the Sparta DT shadow on the ground. It's really cool. I don't know. I'm debating. I think it's definitely A tier. The only reason I think it's not S tier. Ooh, actually, I'm talking myself out of it. It might be S tier. Is it better than Alistair? Like, objectively, it's better than Alistair. But it doesn't have a cool cutscene attached. And it is kind of lame in like a challenge to speedrun context because you just never get to use it. But I think it's better than Alistair. It's got the same moveset. So I think Alistair has the benefit of being the OG. It's like the one with the moveset, right? And I feel like everything else kind of like gets detracted points for having the same moveset. But man, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it better than Alistair? I kind of feel like it should be. The costume is way sicker. You get DT on mission 1. I feel like it's S tier. Weeb weapon. Is that a positive or a negative? I think it's better. I think it's better. Like, it's just better in every metric. Alistair has the OG moveset and the others copied it, sure. But that could also be said about Alistair, that it had its moves copied. So it's not as unique. Does it have vortex and stuff too? I don't know. I think so. Yeah, it does. It must. Right? I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, it's basically exactly the same. It's just cooler. Which means that it has to be higher on the list, right? I'm sticking with it. That's what it is. All right, so to recap. Best weapons in the game. Devil May Cry 1 weapon tier list. Number 1 weapon, easily, the grenade gun. It's just so busted. It's really cool. It has insane utility. It's fun, man. It's fun. Number 2, the GAT, the Blicky, oh my god, excuse me, the shotgun. You know, it's just got insane utility. It is the second most useful gun, easily. And it's really, really, really cool. It's very stylish. And there's a lot of utility. Third, Ifrit. Ifrit, it's got its own unique moveset. There's nothing like it in the game. And it's insanely good. Its special moves are really cool. And nothing compares, really. Then you got Yamato, which is just Alistair, but better. You know, it's got the drip costume. It's got the DT on mission 1. Huge plus if you're playing on Dante Must Die. And, you know, it's got all that amazing moveset that Alistair doesn't. You got Alistair up next. The OG. You know, the movesets are all based on Alistair, and Alistair has all these really cool special moves. And, of course, it's got the original Stinger. You know, it's a classic, timeless. And a really cool aesthetic. But, you know, at the end of the day, copied by other things. And I think just an objectively worse version of Yamato, even if only slightly. Then we got Ebony and Ivory, which are pretty goated. You know, they're iconic, classic, endlessly useful. Most people will never even switch from these, and they won't need to because they're useful in every single situation. The downside of them, button mashing is fucking annoying. And while they're useful in every sort of scenario, they don't excel at any scenario. Does that make sense? They're good. They're jack of all trades, master of none. So they're at the bottom of S tier. Actually, fuck it. I'm putting it in A tier. They're A tier. Yeah, I'm committed. They're A tier. Sparta, A tier. Got a really cool opening cutscene. Really neat moveset. Basically, you know, steals Alistair's, but with cooler animation and a way cooler design for the sword. Biggest downside, you get it really late in the game, not much chance to use it, and you can't use double trigger. Like, it has the same damage output as Alistair with DT active, but you lose out on the super moves, and that's a big deal because those super moves are really fun. All the way down in C tier, we have Force Edge, which is just Alistair, but at the Dollar General store. That are basically trying to give this shit away. Doesn't have double trigger, but also not nearly as cool as Sparta. You know, can't do super moves. Also has dog shit damage. So yeah, not very fun. Then we got Nightmare Beta, which is a really cool idea, so it gets some brownie points, but unfortunately pretty much useless in every scenario. Really cool design. Wish that they put more work into it, but you know, they didn't, so all good. Then we got, last but not least, actually, yes, definitely last and least, this gun fucking sucks. The needle gun, only useful underwater. The underwater, you know, not very fun. So, you know, it's kind of bad RNG if you're in the needle gun, you know? Like, if you're in an underwater section and you can only be using the underwater section, then there's a glass ceiling on how good you could be. And that glass ceiling is pretty much at D tier. But yeah, that's it. That's the DMC 1 weapon tier list from me, your boy Waifu, the most knowledgeable DMC player on the planet. Soon to be the greatest of all time. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. It's fun.